How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL preview show here on Twitch. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to go through how the team is currently doing thus far. An unfortunate captaincy choice, which you'll see in just a second here. We'll see what players we have left. We'll see our predictions. I can't get that phrase out thus far. Still with Chelsea and Fulham still to play. So one prediction we will have not done or not have been played yet. Then we'll also go through our predictions for double game week 20, which we would discuss after we've gone through those. And we'll talk about players that we are basically looking at, or what players you should be looking at as well. And then we'll go through my transfer plans and any questions that you have in the chat. What I'll also do for a video that's going to be later on in the week is basically I'll just cut the segment out because not many people do get to see the full VOD of the stream. Sometimes it's a bit too long, so I know that double game week information is kind of crucial, so we'll try to make that section a little bit on the shorter side. So we'll kind of condense that down and put that into its own separate video a little bit later on in the week for those to watch if they just want to watch that segment as well. So without further ado, let's see how the team's doing thus far. Oh, we got our predictions already up on the screen. Spoiler alert! Spoiler! Spoiler! Alright, there we go. So yeah. Currently not great. The team's not doing too hot. Only 38 points thus far. We captained Sterling, who basically in the first tackle of the game had to come off with what looks to be a hamstring injury. He had a scan. It didn't show the severity of it, so they're scanning it again. So the likelihood is I'm only going to get 2 points from Sterling, which is unfortunate, which means he's probably going to go out the door almost immediately. But in theory, we still have Sterling, Cucurella, Kepa, and Andreas still to go. We are on a red arrow. Our overall rank is not 1.42 million. It is actually 1.77 at the moment. That was one thing I did not change. Well, I can change it for you on the fly. 77 approximately. And we put the little asterisks to let you know that the points still could still change because basically the game week's not finished yet. So let's just put that back to where it was. There we go. But let's run through the team. So Kepa, just the 2 points. I didn't expect a clean sheet, but Chelsea played decently well against City. It wasn't like, a vintage Chelsea performance, but they played well enough to where they only lost 1-0 basically. Trippier doing what he does, getting himself a clean sheet and some bonus points. 0-0 was actually the perfect score in my opinion. Ben White gets the clean sheet as we played him. He was the best option. I think we played pretty much, assuming Andreas doesn't come off pre-60 and get booked. And we wouldn't have captained like Bueno or anyone like that. But I think we played our most basically attacking lineup that we could. Foden just getting the 1 point coming off pre-60 was just another shake of the head. Cancelo getting hooked at halftime was another big one, but you didn't have those out of that Man City and Chelsea game. But hopefully we can get a little bit more points. Hopefully a clean sheet versus Fulham. And if not, hopefully Pereira is the one that scores the goal. Or at least something along these lines, like Cucurella gets taken off after 60 minutes. They have a clean sheet. Fulham win a penalty. Kepa saves it. And Pereira taps it in for the rebound because he's probably going to take it because Mitrovic is suspended for this game, which is I saw the foul that Mitrovic got the yellow card for. It's just laughable, to be honest. It was inevitable. Yeah, that's why I didn't bring him in. I was like, he's going to get booked somehow, some way. And he just did, even though it wasn't a yellow in my opinion. But the Newcastle-Arsenal game, a 0-0 was perfect for not only me being a United fan. I want Arsenal to drop points. I don't want them to win the league. And helps United gain some ground on them. Helps City still be a bit more competitive as they got the win over Chelsea. And it meant my FPL team basically did the best it possibly could, as it were. So pretty happy about that. Liverpool, a big disappointment. Darwin Nunez just the 1 point. Haaland just the 2 points. Martial just the 2 points. Rashford getting himself 8. So some big decisions need to be made going into this game week coming up, the double game week, and we'll talk about the fixtures and who potentially could be on the chopping block in a bit. But overall, Not a great week. Another red arrow looks to be on the cards unless Sterling makes a miraculous recovery, or I get like Cucurella with 15 points or something crazy versus Fulham, or literally the scenario where Cucurella comes off with a clean sheet, Kepa makes a save, like a billion saves, then saves a penalty, and then Pereira scores 2, and then Fulham win 2-1 or something like I don't know. Something like that would have to happen, which is highly unlikely. So yeah, not ideal. So that's going to do it for the kind of wrap up of the kind of first part there. Let's take a look at how our predictions went thus far. So if I bring up our tweet that we normally do. So can I make this a little bit? No, it can definitely come in a little bit. Unless I just cut it. That's fine. The little gray around the outside doesn't really matter too much. Just like, I guess I cut the tweet a little bit skinnier or whatever. But anyways, let's go through our predictions. So we do our predictions every week. I'm not going to write down the full score. We'll be able to do that when we get the last result, the Fulham-Chelsea game. We'll do that on the deadline stream on Thursday. That'll be after the Fulham-Chelsea game has been played. That's when we're going to do it, because the deadline is actually Friday. If we just take a little sneak peek into next game week, Friday the 13th, potentially an unlucky day for some. But yeah, Friday the 13th is the start of the double game week, which then runs until the Thursday of the following week with newly added double game week fixtures, which we will check as well. So, these is how the fixtures went down. So, Brentford-Liverpool, I predicted a win for Liverpool. If I had got the exact score right, I would have got 3 points for my kind of scoring. If I would have got a Liverpool win in any way, shape, or form, I would have got 1 point. But I didn't. So, I get the 0 points because Brentford put on an absolute clinic. They showed exactly how you're supposed to play versus Liverpool. Liverpool's midfield is a huge problem right now. And even without Tony, they showed that Brentford at home are a problem. Arsenal over Newcastle, I kind of just favored Arsenal to be the home team. There were claims of handball and all this sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, I think it would have been a bit harsh on Newcastle. I think they worked hard enough to deserve a point. I don't think Arsenal created enough from open play, if I'm perfectly honest, so I think a draw was about right. Unfortunately, my prediction was wrong, so no points there. Brighton, Everton, I thought it would be a bit closer of a game because being at Goodison Park, but Brighton absolutely thrashed Everton to bits. And they got the result. I predicted 2-1, ended up being 4-1. Fulham-Leicester thought would be a draw. I thought Leicester would at least get something because Fulham are a bit leaky at the back, but Fulham keeping the clean sheet away from home. Mitrovic getting booked in it, though, sees him missing out on the Chelsea fixture in a couple days' time, so no points for me there. United versus Brentford, I got that exactly right, so there's 3 points there, 3-0, pretty comfortable for Man United for the most part. They did give away a couple of chances when it was 2-0, but David De Gea comes through as per usual, although he did make a mistake versus Everton, but that didn't cost United moving on in the FA Cup. For Southampton, I thought this would be a draw before us getting the away win. Huge points for them. Huge 3 points for them. You like to call those the 6-pointers, the ones in the relegation zone. And I think Forest, they could potentially, chip away and get themselves out of there. I think their signings are starting to gel. They've gotten the exact same lineup being put out by Cooper in back-to-back games, which is something that he hasn't done all season. So now they're starting to get the formula going. They got Awani and Brennan Johnson playing as split forwards with Gibbs White just in behind and kind of more of a combative, structured midfield 3 behind that. And I think that's working for them. I think that really is working for them. It gives them a platform to go on and progress with that. But I think the key to it is Gibbs White playing in that role. Also with the centre-back changes as well, with Willy Bolly coming in there. Yes, he has been a bit shaky, but I think his experience is kind of maybe giving a bit more comfort to the rest of the team as well, as he's kind of more of the senior head in the team. Leeds, West Ham, it ended up being 2-2. I predicted Leeds to win the game, but West Ham slightly better than the previous performances, but not great. still basically dropping points to Leeds. They could be in a bit of trouble. I still think they'll find their way out, though. I don't think they're going to be the ones like the Southamptons or Evertons and Bournemouth that could get dragged down and be stuck down there. I think they'll basically find their way out. Moyes has done it before and got them out of trouble. Villa versus Wolves. Villa having a chance to win it late on with Leon Bailey. He was actually in tears at the end of the game because he knew that he had missed chances. So unfortunately, our prediction was wrong there. It would have been if he had put it in the back of the net. Predicted a 2-1. Villa looking decent under Unai Emery. Wolves also looking decent under Lopetegui. So I think Wolves will probably potentially pull themselves out of it, assuming that they can consistently score goals. That has basically been their main problem all season. Palace Spurs, I thought it'd be another Spurs kind of dross performance, but Palace just didn't play well at all in the first 20 minutes of the second half. They got absolutely blitzed, and Spurs made a massive lead out of it in quick time. So unfortunately, no points there. We're not doing very well on our predictions this week, but we did get the Man City win, so we at least get 1 point for that. So with an extra fixture, we've only got 5 points. So unless Chelsea's a 2-1 over Fulham, we're going to have a pretty bad week so far. So just the 5 points for our predictions, which isn't great. However, we did get the clean sheet for Man United. Dean Henderson kept himself a clean sheet. Tsimikas, I don't believe, got any involvement in the Liverpool goal. He did not. I also think he came off at halftime, so that didn't end up playing out well. Pulisic, much like Raheem Sterling, also got injured at the beginning of the game. I think it was around the 20-ish minute mark or 15-minute mark. And Havertz, again, not great as of yet. They could still make comebacks, but it looks like Pulisic's out till like February. Havertz can still do something, so he is still potentially a question mark on that one. But guaranteed, we are 2 out of 4 on the differentials thus far, with Havertz still to play. So that's it for the predictions there. So we'll just close out of that. And like I said, the one fixture left, which we'll cover, and we'll total up our score going into the end of that on the deadline stream. Will be pretty quick to do so. Moving on to our predictions for this week. We do our predictions. You'll see it over on the VOD in the description down below, Fantasy Football Community. You'll see those predictions over there. They do a post every game week, or mostly every game week. I don't know, over Christmas there was, I think it was Game Week 19 was missed. But I do my predictions every game week as much as I can. So those will be over there as well. So make sure to check it out. They have a bunch of other articles as well, with a bunch of fantastic bits and pieces of content. Just kind of round out your FPL week. Just give you a little bit of reading here and there. Maybe do a little predictions and see how it goes. I kind of just do predictions for fun. Some people do it for, for if they want to do a bet or whatever it may be. Maybe just a little side thing with your mates, like, hey, whoever gets his bet right gets lunch, or the next round of drinks, or whatever it may be. And then there's some people that do it for a living, although that's a bit more difficult and a bit more challenging, but we won't delve into that. Let's go on to the predictions for this week. So this is how I have it. We'll have to scroll down, but the game week starts, as you can see. So the deadline is 2:30 my time, which is 6:30 UK time, as there is an 8 o'clock 8 o'clock kickoff on Friday the 13th of January. So make sure to have your FPL team set by then. I don't think we're going to get any concrete like team news or anything like that before then. So probably Thursday night's probably the best to do it. But first game up, Aston Villa Leeds. I'm going to go with the 2-2 again. Probably should have gone with the West Ham game as well. But I think these two are playing decently well enough. And it's going to be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to this one. Typically the Friday kind of just 4 o'clock games to start the week have always been kind of like, not the most exciting games. But this one looks to be pretty good. You know, new manager Unai Emery. Leeds are still trying to fight back, have a bunch of young players that are, you know, basically trying to make a name for themselves after they've, you know, Bamford's been just injury prone pretty much all season, as well as last season. Rafinha's gone to Barcelona, and they have to rely on a lot of young players, and Jesse Marsch has taken over from, can't remember his name now. What was his name? Marcelo Bielsa. There we go. Knew it would come back. For, I think it's close to a year now. Or we'll be knocking on close to a year. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be an interesting game. Not many potential FPL assets in the game, but could be a good watch nonetheless. One that will have FPL assets in it is the Man United versus Man City Manchester derby at Old Trafford. I've gone with the United 2-1 win. Now, this may seem like a shock. Realistically, probably most people will probably go for some kind of Man City win. I think United are in good form at the moment. I think they've had much better, you know, defensive solidity. They have much more adaptability at the moment. I think Pep showed his kind of bad tendencies in the Chelsea game in the first half, where he had what looked to be a normal team on paper, but for some reason decided to play a back three with wing backs, and it just didn't work. And then he basically just took off Cancelo and Walker and reverted back to his normal system, but except they used Lewis, and I can't remember who else it was that played in that position. That played as like their fake left back, as it were. And then they were much more dominant and ended up getting the one goal from Grealish assisting Mahrez's goal. But I think United will do well. United have, you know, they didn't do well versus City the last time. That was at the Etihad. This is one of two probably difficult fixtures left on the calendar. For the most part, I think, you know, Man City and Arsenal, you would say, are the tricky ones. Chelsea and Liverpool look very vulnerable at the moment. Newcastle will potentially be tricky, but again, still look to be kind of similar to United, where like their first team is pretty good, and it's defensively solid, and like, you know, two of the better defenses in the league. I think Newcastle is best at the moment. And they're decent going forward, but just attacking depth hasn't been their strongest suit, because Wilson gets injured quite often and Chris Wood just isn't it, and Isak got injured fairly early on into his Newcastle career. So, but I still think United come out winners in this one. Maybe a slight bit of bias being a United fan, but I can see United. We've been playing extremely well at home. Rashford is red hot. And that's why he's on the thumbnail. I think he's got 7 goals in his last 7 games at Old Trafford. And City do look a bit vulnerable and shaky at the back. So I predict United to get a win in this one. Liverpool and Brighton. I've gone with the 2-2. Liverpool's defense has been not good. Brighton are doing extremely well. I expect Matoma to, if not in the summer, to potentially next summer or next January go to a top club as a potential... or at least, you know, looking potentially for a move. Very young. I think he's only like 18 or 19. Super skillful wide man. It's just basically taken Trossard out of the team completely. And De Zerbi's got them playing excellent attacking football. Again, I still think Liverpool have, you know, abilities to score versus Brighton, as they aren't as solid defensively like what they were under Graham Potter's tenure. But with Gakpo in there now, they have more assurity in the attacking areas. I still think Liverpool's midfield can get ran through very easily, and I think Brighton are very good at doing that, especially with the likes of Caicedo, McAllister, World Cup winning McAllister as well. And it should be a good battle. I'm really looking forward to that game. I hope that's the, if anyone who watches the goal rushes, I hope that's the goal rush game, because that'll be really fun to watch, hopefully. Everton, Southampton, as the Black Box guys, Mark would say, this is the Garden Center game. This is the game that nobody wants to watch, and you probably just want to tune into a different game, basically. I've gone with a 0-0. I'll even lump Wolves and West Ham into this. I put them down for a 0-0 as well. West Ham are usually defensively solid, and will probably be a bit more stubborn on the road. Wolves have struggled to score goals, but have been better under Lopetegui. But I still think it's going to be some type of draw as well. It's either 0-0 or 1-1 is my guess. And Forest, I think they get a point versus Leicester. They might even get the win. Leicester do look a bit vulnerable at the moment, but I think they're good for a point in this one. They just have to just picking up points. As long as they're not losing games, they're still getting points, and I think that will definitely help them, especially with the likes of Southampton, Everton. If either one of those two lose that game, they drop points. Brentford, I predicted them to beat Bournemouth 2-0 pretty comfortably, even without Ivan Toney, who we're expecting to potentially get banned at some point, even though he's out injured at the moment. We don't know the extent of that. So Bournemouth are likely to drop points as well, especially since Brentford are at home. Bournemouth just don't look it at the moment. I predicted Brentford 2-0 in that one. Chelsea, I expect them to bounce back versus Fulham, getting a 2-1 win. I'm going with the same scoreline versus Palace, who haven't looked great. Have looked very inconsistent in recent games. They've either been, brilliant, or they've been just absolutely woeful. And I think that Chelsea will eventually have to put it together. It also looks like they're going to get João Felix, which will help them for the approximately 6 months that he's there on loan, because it looks like Chelsea's willing to pay the loan fee that Atletico Madrid want and full wages. So Chelsea are going to be looking for that, as they do have Raheem Sterling potentially out for several weeks, Christian Pulisic out for a while. They sold Timo Werner, and they basically just have kind of Kai Havertz and Ziyech. Ziyech was obviously injured for a bit as well. Mount can kind of play in the front three, but it isn't great. Lukaku's out on loan, I think. I can't remember to Inter. I don't know if they sold him or if it's a loan, or I think it's a loan. But yeah, so I think they'll just scrape by. Newcastle win this one, I think 3-1, probably 3-0, but I gave Fulham a goal just to be nice, because I think that, Fulham tend to score, but Newcastle at home are very difficult, but I definitely think Newcastle will score a few in that one. The North London Derby, Spurs versus Arsenal, I've gone with a 2-2 in that one. I think Spurs will do well in that one at home, and I think Arsenal potentially could stumble a little bit here. Saka went down injured tonight versus Oxford in the FA Cup. That could prove to be quite bad, because his natural replacement would be the likes of potentially like a Smith Rowe as an example, or Marquinhos. Smith Rowe, again, not really the most fit player in the world, often injured and has been out with a groin injury since like September, I think. And then you have Marquinhos, who I think is only like a teenager. So again, it could be a bit of a problem. I think if you have Saka and Partey out for an extended period of time, I think Arsenal could suffer greatly, and they'll be looking to dip into the transfer market for something. I think they're still on the hunt to get Mudryk, but it looks like it's going to cost them a lot more than they had anticipated from Shakhtar Donetsk. Crystal Palace versus Manchester United, I think it should be pretty comfortable. 2-0 win for United. Should be no dramas there. Man City versus Spurs. I've gone with a Spurs win, actually. Now, this may surprise some of you, but I think that Spurs will, they did it to Man City last season. I think just for whatever reason, Man City's just going to kind of falter this week. It's just a hunch. I could be completely wrong. They could win 5-0 in both games. Probably more likely than my two scores, but for some reason I just expect Spurs to do well versus City, and then they'll go play Fulham and get spanked 3-0. Who knows? I could be completely wrong. Clean sheet this week. I'm going to go with Brentford, considering they have a game over Bournemouth. That was my headset. Need to put the old charger in. There we go. And we'll wrap it around the headphone here, because it's a little bit loose on the bottom there. Gotta give it a little bit more slack. There we go. It looks a bit kind of stupid, but let me see if I can fix it. Oh, that's why it looks stupid, because it's not supposed to go that way. Oh no, it is. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so it's gonna look weird with the cable kind of out the side here like that. But yeah. Where were we? Oh, clean sheet for Brentford. Goalkeeper. Well, I think you kind of have to go De Gea just because of the double game week. I know I picked him in recent weeks, but I think you have to go with De Gea. Because I think he's the least... I mean, you could go with Guaita, but that's kind of, you know, not smart in my opinion. But De Gea, 9.4% isn't actually that bad. Thought it'd be higher than that. But De Gea would be the one I would go for there. In midfield, let's go for a double game week player as well. How well owned is Son? I feel like he's got to be like super low owned. I'm gonna go. You know what? Son is gonna be the one that's probably lowest out of Spurs, but he could be the most threatening versus Arsenal and Spurs because of the way they play. I think the mask is kind of like James discussed this on Planet FBL. The mask is really irritating him at the moment. He's wearing it obviously for protection, and he's got to wear it for a certain period of time. But I think it's really annoying him when he's playing. But again, a differential. Oh, he's not a defender. What am I doing? Well, he's going to be our midfielder. Defender, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Delo because he's 6.4%. Again, I'm just trying to pick double game week players here because it just makes more sense. Everyone was going for Luke Shaw, whose ownership is probably something crazy. Let me see what it is. Yeah, 13%. It's getting up there. You can just barely see that there. And then forwards, differential forwards for this week. The teams that double are Spurs, Arsenal, Man City. No, Spurs, United, Crystal Palace, Man City. Who's gonna be the double game, the forward that's gonna do a double? Let's see. Well, I mean, we have Kane, we have Martial, we have Holland. No, we have some type of Palace forward, which there are none, basically. Guess I'm gonna have to pick Martial again, aren't I? This seems a bit boring. I mean, he's 74 point. Yeah, it's kind of the only one I can kind of go for of the double game week teams. So go for it as you will. So yeah, that's our clean sheet and differential picks. I'm just gonna post that over on Twitter now. All right, there we go. That's out over on Twitter. Apparently Podolski got sent off in his charity match, apparently. Yep, he got sent off in his own charity match. That is hilarious. I don't know what the charity match was for, but he got sent off as an own charity match, which is interesting. So let's before we look at the team, let's talk about the double game weeks, and we'll go through like kind of the players. I'm gonna snip this up and put it over as its own like kind of exclusive video. So we're gonna have that posted later on in the week. So if you don't want to watch the whole VOD, you can watch just that bit there for you. So the double game week fixtures that have been added is Man United and Crystal Palace, and Man City versus Spurs. And this is because Crystal Palace were knocked out of the FA Cup. Manchester United won and went through in the FA Cup, so there was no draw scenario there. So they could play Crystal Palace. Leeds did draw, so had Crystal Palace drawn, then Man United couldn't have played either of those teams and wouldn't have had a fixture there. Man City and Spurs both did not draw. Spurs ended up beating Portsmouth, and Man City ended up beating Chelsea, which means that the double game week was confirmed. So Man City have a double versus Manchester United away and Spurs at home. Crystal Palace have a double game week away to Chelsea and at home to Manchester United. Manchester United have a home fixture versus Man City and an away fixture versus Crystal Palace. And Spurs have a double as well with Arsenal at home and Manchester City away. So immediately, we look at the fixtures, they're not great, right? If we're looking at assets here, so I'm going to bring up a notepad here as well. So kind of the doubles you're looking at, so Spurs, so in all cap, if it's in capitals, that means they're at home. If it's in lowercase, that means they're, they face them away. So they face Arsenal at home, Man City away, Man United. Just going to kind of line them up a little bit as best I can. Man United have Man City at home, Crystal Palace away. Man City have Man United away, Tottenham at home, and Crystal Palace have Chelsea away and Man United at home. So right off the bat, the teams that you're kind of, already looking at here, you're kind of excluding Palace. Chelsea away, Man United at home. Not very good attacking options apart from maybe Zaha. He typically does well versus the better teams, but you're probably not going to go out of your way to get him. You're going to look to go for maybe double, triple United, definitely triple City, and maybe Kane is what you're kind of looking for. So we're going to kind of exclude Palace out of that. So again, it's just Zaha for me and nothing really else there. Man City. Now the assets you could potentially look for here. Everyone's going to have Haaland. So that's kind of, that's already, that's a lock. That's guaranteed. Second player that I would probably say is on the list for everyone is probably KDB. And then the rest of the players that they're probably you're looking at is your Fodens, Mahrez, Cancelo, Lewis. Let me just bring it down a little bit. Lewis, Stones, Akanji, these sorts of players, and then like Ederson as an example. Those would be like kind of your third spot. I think a lot of managers are going to look to KDB and Haaland. I might go for something different. Might take a punt because I'm going to be trying to do that sort of stuff. But that's kind of what you're looking for the most part out of City. Everyone's going to have Haaland. You're going to try to get triple City. In terms of each individual player, I would say defenders, basically bring them in at your own risk. I would say your probably most secure third player is almost certainly going to be Ederson. I don't see him being rotated. I think Mahrez is potentially going to be a good value pick. I think he's currently 7.5 million. Yeah, 7.5 million. 2.2% owned. Has been playing extremely well recently. Got 2 assists and a goal. And has done quite well for himself. So expect Riyad Mahrez to potentially pick up some more minutes. And even off the bench can prove to be quite effective. And we'll talk about what my potential moves would be around this as well. Man United. I'm just going to copy this and then just remove the player. So player number 1 that again everyone's going to have is Rashford. And what I'll do is I'll put this asterisk next to the players that pretty much that everyone's guaranteed going to have. or at least it's very likely that they're going to be fairly highly owned. The second player is probably Shaw slash some Man United defender. So that's Delo, Shaw, Varane, whoever it may be. And then I think the third player is going to be one of maybe Martial, David De Gea, Bruno Fernandes. Somebody like that is probably going to be the third option. I don't really think Antony's an option. He could be a bit in and out of the team. I think Martial's our only forward, so he's going to play whether he gets taken off at 70 minutes or not. He's going to probably start both games, certainly unless he gets injured. Bruno, is going to play both games, so maybe he's a better option in there as well. So that would be kind of the list for United. And then I think Spurs, honestly, it's just Kane, to be honest. And I don't think he's even guaranteed to be, kind of in the, in everyone's team. I know he's, pretty highly owned at the moment. I want to say he's around like the 30% mark. Yeah, 30.3. We almost bang on. He's been crazy red hot in the last 5 games with 5 goals and 2 assists, which is crazy. If Haaland didn't exist, like Kane's got 15 goals, 4 assists, Haaland's got 21 goals and 3 assists. Like if Haaland didn't exist, we would be talking about Kane. Yes, Kane did get 2 goals and assists in the last game, but he can do it against anyone. He always often scores versus Arsenal. City, he's done very well versus them in the past. So again, he could be someone to go for. These are not defensive fixtures for Spurs. I would not be going for them. Again, the only outside pick that I would be looking at would be Son. Kulusevski, maybe if we knew he was guaranteed to be fit. But again, it looks like he could be potentially on like risk, like kind of minutes or whatever. Yes, he's only got a yellow flag here, but maybe he won't be risk. Again, at 7.9 could prove to be good. But again, just been a bit injury prone. Bentancur, again, they really need Bentancur back in order for him to kind of solidify the midfield and allow Kane and Son to do what they do. So it could be a bit risky there. So yeah, those are kind of the players that you're looking at. Kane from Spurs, none from Palace. Rashford, pretty much everyone's going to have. Maybe one United defender, and then one of maybe another United defender. David De Gea, Martial, Bruno Fernandes. And then for Man City, Haaland, everyone's probably going to have. KDB is going to be highly sought after. And then one of Foden, Mahrez, and then one of the defenders / Ederson will probably be in there. Even though I don't think, I think the only team that's potentially going to keep a clean sheet in this double is going to be probably Man United. I think both Man United and Man City score against each other in their game. I think Arsenal and Spurs both score against each other. I think Man United have the best chance of keeping a clean sheet versus Palace, and I think that Man City and Spurs both score against each other as well in that one. So that would be the only reason why for City, I like potentially the triple attack and be a bit more, potentially a bit riskier as it were. So if we take a look at my team currently as it stands, and kind of how we can look at these kind of players now that we know what we're looking at here. Again, I still have the notepad off to the side, and I'll continue to reference it. But currently, I only have 2 Man City players. I have 2 United players. I have no Spurs players, and I have no Crystal Palace players. Now, from those teams, you're probably looking at 7 double game week players tops. That's going to be Kane, Haaland, De Bruyne, and one other. Rashford, a United defender, and one other. I think 7's probably the most. I think the average is probably going to be around 5 with 2 United and triple City, I think is what's going to happen. I would not be shocked if there was, Haaland was higher than 200% ownership this week with people playing triple captaincies on him. Me personally, I wouldn't do that because I think around game week 34-ish, there could be a good double game week where he plays like Fulham and another easier team. Let me see if I can bring up the Ben Crellin stuff. If you haven't followed Ben Crellin over on Twitter, fantastic work with the fixtures. Also, Planet FBO are looking to do some stuff on the fixtures as well, which could be of good insight there as well. Let me take a look at Ben Krellin's fixture. So he says, before the Game Week 20 deadline, we'll know more about how likely these double game weeks are. If Arsenal win tonight, which they did, and then Man City would be more likely to be knocked out before the FA Cup quarterfinals. If Man City draw Man United in the EFL Cup semi-final, that's Carabao Cup, then Bournemouth versus Man City would become less likely to become a blank and double game week fixture. So possible double game weeks for Manchester City in the future would be Man City versus Aston Villa at home and Arsenal away. I'll actually put it up on the screen here for you so that you all can see it. So this is the tweet here. So this is possible for Game Week 23. Game Week 29 would be Liverpool at home and then Bournemouth/West Ham in 29. 34 is the one that I would be looking at. Fulham away plus Bournemouth would be like prime time for Holland. Assuming that if they're in the Champions League, then it could be a bit iffy, or if the Premier League's still a bit sticky, Holland could be going for goals there. So we'll have to wait and see. Bournemouth versus Man City is a postponement if Man City reach the Carabao Cup final, which is very likely for them to do. Man City versus West Ham is postponed if either club reach the FA Cup quarterfinals, and then Man City versus Brighton is postponed if either club reach the FA Cup semi-final. So again, Ben Krelin just goes to reiterate that PP means basically postponed. So Bournemouth versus Man City would stay in Game Week 25 and won't become a double game week in 29, 34, 37 if Man City does not reach the Carabao Cup final. So basically, in the event that Man City does not reach the Carabao Cup final, that fixture will stay in Game Week 25 and not be moved later on. The likelihood is Man City will beat their opponent in the quarterfinals. I think they have Southampton away in that one. They'll then either get drawn up against somebody easier or United, in which case you probably have them favorites anyway to go through, even though I just predicted United to beat them. But you'll probably have them favorites to, assuming that United and City don't play each other and they both get through, to both make it to the final, which would move this game into a later double game week. And which one that will be, we'll have to wait and see. But if it does go into the Game Week 34 one, that would be prime time for the triple captaincy for Holland. So in my opinion, I think the triple captaincy on Holland should not be used. Man United are a tough fixture at the moment. And Spurs are going to sit back and prove to be a bit difficult for him as well. I think there's going to be easier fixtures and better fixtures for him to go crazy in. Although, that being said, Holland doesn't tend to blank against anyone, really. So, yeah, use it as you will. But I think the triple captaincy is probably going to be used then as well. Or even a slightly better game week is better than this one, because you don't want to be using a triple captaincy on a two big six or historical big six teams. So what is that going to be for me and my transfers? Well, if we just take a look at the team, so we got Kepa, Trippier, Cucurella, Robertson, Rashford, Sterling, Foden, Martinelli, Martial, Haaland, and Darwin Nunez. Now, Martial I'm definitely going to keep, assuming he's not injured. I think Rashford's obviously a keep. Foden I'm going to keep because I think he's going to play. He plays in the big games, so I expect him to play on the left and probably Mars to play on the right. But if he doesn't play, then obviously that's unfortunate. But he's got a double, and he's a Man City player, and he typically plays in the big games. So unless Pep changes that, we'll have to wait and see. But Foden has often done well in the bigger games, at least for Man City. Sterling will most likely go because he is currently what looks to be he's going to be out for a decent bit. So he would be one to make way. Pretty easy, straightforward transfer would be to get rid of Sterling and bring De Bruyne straight back in, who we got rid of previously. The other thing that I could go for, which I'm actually more inclined to do so, because it seems like he could be a bit of a punt, is Riyad Mahrez. And then we could potentially go for, we would have 5.3 million in the bank after that transfer, is to get rid of Cucurella, because Chelsea just do not look good at the moment. Yes, they have Palace at home. But again, Liverpool away, they'll probably concede. They have decent enough fixtures afterwards, but I'm just really not sure about Chelsea. At the moment, Arsenal are going to be solid. They're probably going to have a double game week in 23, which is currently on the cards. I'm not sure if there's anything that could change that. Trippier's not going anywhere. I think Robertson is still providing good value. He'll probably be back in the team and could provide some attacking value. So maybe he's the one that gets cut later on if we need another Chelsea defender back. And it would be Reece James anyway. So I'm thinking also go for the likes of Delo because, you know, cheaper than Shaw. Is going to come back. Was a bit of a bonus magnet when he was playing. United do have good fixtures after the Arsenal game as well. And it's not like United have been bad defensively. I expect them to do well defensively versus Palace and the fixtures afterwards. So, and it's a double game week. So we would have triple United, triple City. And that one, that would be for -4. And then afterwards, if we really wanted to, if we thought that, hey, look, you know, Kane's still doing well, and we don't want Martial long term for the Arsenal fixture and later on we just want the 2 United, we can then get rid of him and go straight up to Kane because Salah just isn't looking the part at the moment. KDB is creating chances, but again, not getting the FPL points, whereas Mars and Foden could be if they're played. I think that's potentially currently what Pep should be playing, but again, you know, Phil Foden with the junk minutes, and then pulled off after 59 minutes, could be a bit of an interesting one there where we might have to change Foden out for somebody. It would probably be Saka with Arsenal's good fixtures, but if he's out, then maybe we have to go for an alternative. Darwin Nunez is still on the, you know, kind of the watch at the moment. So, but that's kind of what we're looking at. We could bring in Kane as well for Martial. If we wanted to, I'm not sure if we can do this, but if we brought in De Bruyne here, we could not go to Kane. We would be how much short? 2 million, I want to say. So yeah, instead of Cucurella, we would have to get rid of Robertson and go to a cheaper United defender. Martinez is just barely out of reach, which is unfortunate. So yeah, I think Kane is due to go up tonight anyway, so we need even more than 0.1, which is a bit unfortunate. So that would be something we could potentially look at, but the likelihood is might go for Mars or something like that, and a United defender. But this is as it stands currently. So I'm just bring this up one more time for you so you can see the notepad. So basically, the only player I'm looking at is potentially Kane for this double for Spurs. Rashford is guaranteed cert, some type of United defender, so Shaw or Delo. And then Fernandes, Martial, David De Gea could be in that conversation for a third United asset. Haaland guaranteed. De Bruyne could be or will be in most teams. And then one of Foden, Mars, and then one of the defenders plus Ederson will be in there, I think, for a lot of managers. I think the most assured of starts would be Ederson. I think Foden is much of a risk. I think Mars is a risk as well. It just seems like when Pep has a player that's playing well, he just kind of doesn't play them, and it's a bit weird. So that's what I would say for that one. So that's going to do it for that segment. We'll post that over on YouTube as well. Later on in the week as kind of like a little snippet, because not many of those that watch the stream or watch the videos will watch the whole thing, and that one little segment is something to kind of to look at. Looking further into the future just a little bit here, I'm going to bring up Ben Crellin again. Where's Ben Crellin? Ben Crellin. So he's got his planner here. It's probably not gonna you're probably not gonna be able to see it properly, unless I let's open the image in a new tab. Can I make it a little bit smaller to really see the whole thing? That's good enough there. Stuff on the right from Gameweek 29 onwards, you don't really need to see. So game week 20, again, there's going to be some doubles in there, potentially some doubles, you know, in like in you know, 23. There could be a potential double game week for like City, Arsenal. You know, likely double game week as well. Again, it's set in stone, but I'm not sure if it's a guaranteed like how it was, where it's like if they draw or whatever, then whatever it may be. But these are the fixtures that we need to pay attention to. I'll move my head out of the way. These are the fixtures that need to be kind of you know, rescheduled because of postponements from earlier on in the season. United are probably the one that has the most fixture congestion, because United are in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup and likely to go through because of they're playing Charlton at home, so they should be quite comfortable. They're also through into the next round of the FA Cup and have Reading, again, another fixture where they should go through in the FA Cup. Then they play 2 legs versus Barcelona as a round of 32 game in the Europa League, and obviously they still play in said Premier League. So a lot of fixtures for them. Brighton have a couple fixtures to rearrange as well. So Mitoma could be one. I think he's 4.9 million. Could be as a very cheap kind of segue from Andreas to him if you wanted to go for like a 5th midfielder. Leeds, again, Rodrigo's another one that is looking good, playing out of position, very cheap forward, or cheap midfielder, sorry, playing out of position as a forward, and probably on penalties as well, for the most part, assuming he's on the pitch. He would be one to kind of look out for. Liverpool still have their fixtures to rearrange versus Chelsea and Wolves. Again, could be interesting, but with a lot of the kind of attackers being out, and them coming back in February, we'll have to wait and see if those fixtures get rearranged before or after that period, because Liverpool could end up with like 6 attackers in their ranks, with the likes of Salah, Nunez, Gakpo, Firmino, Jota, and Diaz, and which 3 are basically going to play, or potentially which 4 are going to play at any given time. So just a bit of food for thought, but right now, just kind of look at the game week kind of ahead. Again, I wouldn't be using any chips at this point during the season. I think you're going to get better double game weeks to use the triple captaincy, because I don't think it's that great of a double game week, even though it is a Man City double game week. Again, they play Man United for one and Spurs for the other, which makes it kind of difficult. I think the most captain player is going to be Haaland. I'm going to stick it on him as well. And I think he's going to be very close, if not over 200%. So we'll have to wait and see. You have to be very bold to go away from Erling Haaland. So we shall see. But yeah, that's the team currently as it stands. I'm currently leaning more towards the Sterling to Mahrez, and then Cucurella to a Man United defender, and then potentially kind of think about the Kane move. But Martial with the double looks to be quite good, and I think the -4 is probably good enough. I think he has just as good of a chance of scoring as Kane does. Kane's fixtures are much more difficult. He plays the 2 top teams in the Premier League, although he typically does well versus them. Martial has an easier fixture versus an underperforming Palace. Typically plays well versus City. I think he scored 2 last time in that 6-3. So in a much depleted kind of United team at the time that wasn't fully flowing like they are now. So lots to think about. But that's going to do it for the preview stream. Let's move over to the big screen. That was a bit of a rhyme there. But yeah, we'll bypass that. But yeah, like I said, make sure to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're posting the little snippet of the of kind of the double game week section later on in the week. So if you just want to watch that section from the stream, it's good to do so. Makes it much easier, much more kind of bite-sized, as it were. It'll probably end up being like a 15-minute video, I want to say, because I'll just do just the stuff about the double game week, and kind of only include kind of the little short bit of what I'm looking to potentially do with my team as well. So yeah, make sure to check that out as well. Deadline stream will be back on Thursday. I'll be doing that the night before the game week kicks off for double game week 20. So make sure to check that out as well. It'll be hopefully earlier than tonight. It was a little bit later tonight than normal. And I know a lot of you probably wouldn't be available to watch this, but that's why we post VODs over on YouTube so that you can watch at a later date. So yeah, we'll premiere this VOD tomorrow. We'll probably post a little snippet on Wednesday, be back with the stream on Thursday, and then off into Double Game Week 20. And then by then, on the deadline stream, we'll know what the final count is, as it were, for game week points. Hopefully Sterling has made some miraculous comeback, because he is my captain, and it was a bit unfortunate that he got injured, which is a bit of a bummer. And we need a bit of luck this season, which is why I might just stray away from De Bruyne, go for someone a bit more exciting in Mahrez as an example, and go away from Shaw and go for Delo as an example. So that's going to do it for this one, and until the next one, take care.